Let's do it.
Tell me something good.
Ride a short bus, baby.
Tell me that you like it, yeah. Short bus. Tell me something good. Oh, tell me that you like it, yeah.
The good stuff.
Tell me something good.
It's the good stuff, baby. It's the good stuff, the good stuff.
Tell me something good.
Well, hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to, actually, it's short bus in some kind of ways, but we decided, you know what? There's only so many bad movies in a row you can kind of take, and we're missing out in these discussions talking about the stuff that we really do like. So we decided to branch off, if you will, and start this new little thing as well that we're going to kick in from time to time, and it's just called The Good Stuff. So we're not abandoning the format of what we've done. We've got plenty of trash to talk about, but every once in a while we like, hey, let's talk about something we actually do enjoy. And this is going to be the first one. So if you're new to the show, then you've got a lot of catching up to do. And this is going to be different than the rest of the formats that we do. But I am Rick. I'm one of your hosts. And I'm joined by the coolest, my partner, who always rides on the bus with me, Mr. Johnny Krug. What's up, my brother?
What is up, man? It's cool we get to come do this today because, this is a nice beacon of positivity in the podcasting realm, as opposed to us doing another Battlefield Earth or something.
Yeah, it gives us a chance to stretch a little bit, right? And start looking at, all right, there is some light on the other side of the tunnel somewhere.
Well, and the funny thing is, you were saying earlier, we were going to do something we like. This movie, I remember telling people about this movie that we're doing today, which is Trick or Treat from 1986, I believe. Well, yeah. I remember talking to people about this in the early 2000s when it, I got that little cheap DVD of it with Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne on the cover. And they literally, wasn't even pictures of them from the movie. It was just like them on tour.
Right.
And I remember talking to people I knew and friends and stuff, and they're like, "Oh man, that movie's the worst. It's so cheesy and stupid." And I'm like, "I love that movie." But so, some of our listeners might feel like this is a short bus continuation, but for you and I know we both have a really deep fondness for this movie, which is awesome. It gets confused a lot of times with there's Trick. I think it's Trick or Treats. It's another 80s movie, but it's a slasher from, I think, 82. Yep. This movie hits on a lot of the right notes.
It was perfect at the time that it came out because it's right at the height of the Satanic Panic stuff that was going on. It was right where I was as a teenager. This was the music I was listening to. These were the bands. It just works. And, the thing about it, even reviewing it again, going back and watching it, it's a whole bunch of fun. So, for the ones, like you said earlier, Johnny, that said this is a horrible movie, go back and watch the ones that we have covered, and you'll come back going, this is a work of art.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this movie, production values and everything, it's far and above most of the stuff we cover on the show.
So, what we'll do is we're going to take a little short break, take a pause for the cause. We'll be right back with Trick or Treat. See you in a second, sucker.
Get out of the way!
All I know is today's October the 31st. 31 backwards is 13. It's Friday, it's Halloween. It's the 13th anniversary of the lawnmower killings. It's a crazy loose. It's prom night.
Hi, this is Tracy Savage, Debbie from Friday the 13th, Part 3. For the best podcast ever on old slasher movies, be sure you find Hysteria Continues. You will be glad you did. And hey, stay out of Crystal Lake, okay?
Every episode, we celebrate a classic slasher movie, such as Friday the 13th, Halloween, My Bloody Valentine, Happy Birthday to Me, and... Crazy Fat Ethel 2? The hysteria continues, bringing Slash with panache since 2011. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and all good podcatchers.
And we're back with Trick or Treat from 1986. The IMDb score for this is a 5.8. And again, like I was saying, I mean, I just watched a movie the other day, and I don't remember what it was, but it was garbage, and I remember the score was like an 8-something, so I assumed that it was the entire cast and crew went on there and, you know, rated it. Because I feel like this, I don't know, I mean, I would rate this higher, but, you know, again, this may come off as cheesy and silly to other people. One funny thing about this on IMDb, though, its first build is a comedy.
Wow.
Yeah, this movie's not a comedy. I mean, it has comedic moments, but they're not like... There's no lingering comedy stuff in it. It's weird. Because it says comedy, horror, music. And usually the first one on IMDb is usually what the movie primarily is. And so I don't know, I saw a comedy, and I'm like, oh, that can't be further from the truth.
Right. Well, and I guess it's because... one is when this came out, you had, you know, movies like Reanimator happening, you had Evil Dead 2, so you had all these horror movies that had the fun element to it. So I don't know if just because somebody is taking it and running it with that, or it's just the fact of it's an actual timepiece where the people dressed, you know, with Judas Priest looking outfits and all this kind of stuff. Maybe they, tally that up to being comedy. I don't know.
That's kind of what I thought, but I still don't, you know, because you can find that in any horror movie, you know, them being dated. Sure. Or one thing right off the bat I want to tell everybody is this was directed by Charles Martin Smith, who is most famous for Air Bud.
Right.
And that was just shocking to me when I looked it up, because he's done a lot of wholesome stuff, but when I saw Air Bud on there, I was like, whoa, this dude, like, created that franchise. I mean, they're still making those movies. I mean, he must be like a billionaire with all the spin-offs and sequels.
I'm just waiting for Air Bud 7, you know, Sammy Kerr lives.
And also, another funny thing about this is... This movie is written by Rhett Topham, which is a name I'm not very familiar with, but he did 976 Evil, so his other movie was kind of in the same vein as this too.
Yeah.
And another movie I think is a lot of fun, and just, you know, don't take it seriously, just have fun with it. So when I saw that those were his two movies that were most notable, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense, because you could double bill both of those.
And that's the thing, too, is, you know, of course, there's other movies like this that are kind of out there. You had Rock and Roll Nightmare, you had, you know, Black Roses, which are fun, but to me, they're just not in the same caliber as this one for some reason.
It's the music. I think them having a legitimate band do the soundtrack, I don't know, man. Fastway did all the music in this, and before this movie, I had no idea who Fastway was. Yeah. But this soundtrack is start to finish just a banger, just really good.
And I always tell everybody this story, but man, I went through, in the 80s, I went through at least 3 cassettes just wearing this thing out. Every song was, and for them it was kind of what they considered their best material. They kind of threw it together off of 2 or 3 different albums, you know. I was kind of the same way, and then when you find out the story behind what Fastway is, they're kind of legendary, because it's the guitar player from Motorhead.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the Fast comes from, Fast Eddie, you know, the guitar player from Motorhead, and then Way came from Pete Way, who was the bass player in UFO.
Oh, cool.
So they were combining to make this band. It was going to be called Fastway, and by the time they got the contract and everything settled, Pete Way could no longer do it, but Eddie went ahead and kept the name. So the guitar player you're hearing and all this stuff is, you know, the dude from Motorhead.
That's really cool. That's awesome. I had no idea.
Yeah. Of course, you know, the lead singer went on. He's in, Flogging Molly or something like that. So, I mean, you know, there's a lot of interesting stuff about this band. Yeah.
Aren't they a ska? Or they're the Irish punk band, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And of course, if you see what the guy actually looks like, he is straight up. Yeah, he fits the bill.
Man, he's got some pipes on him. I'll tell you that because.
Oh yeah. I
mean, my favorite song on the soundtrack was "Hold On to the Night."
Yeah. That's a bad tune.
Yeah, he has some notes, man, in that chorus that are just outstanding. But
yeah, man, I have an absolute love for that soundtrack, man. It if anything still holds strong. Even my daughter, who didn't even grow up in this time period, she likes the movie, but she loves the soundtrack even more. So that says a lot about it.
Oh yeah, this movie stars Mark Price, who most of you will know from Family Ties, right?
Yeah, Skippy,
yeah. And Tony Fields plays Sammy Kerr, the shock rock icon in this movie. And fun fact about him is he actually was like a dancer, choreographer, and he started off as a solid gold dancer.
He was on solid gold. I mean, even when they were making this movie, he was still on solid gold.
yeah, he was on there from like the late 70s to the mid 80s. And it shows that he also did a lot of dance and choreography for Michael Jackson, most notably Thriller.
Wow.
Yeah, to me, that's really awesome because that's one of the most iconic videos for choreography is definitely one of them. I mean, everybody tries to imitate the Thriller dance.
Yeah. So did you see the alternate names for this movie?
I know in Germany it's called Ragman.
There's another name out there that I almost like better than any of them. It's called Death at 33 RPM.
Oh, I haven't seen that. That is really cool.
That's pretty awesome. I like it.
well, because I mean the Halloween aspect of this movie isn't played up a whole lot, so they could have gone with the music aspect, the record.
Yeah,
and that would have worked, just as well.
The only thing has to do anything with the trick or treat thing is the fact of they're playing the album on Halloween night.
Yeah.
Other than that, it could have been 4th of July. It didn't really matter. So.
Oh man. But and there are some cool Halloween gags in this. Not to downplay them, but there's one with pumpkins, and we'll talk about later that I thought was really just really cool. Every time I see it, it's just neat. This movie also stars Gene Simmons as a kind of a skeezy late night radio DJ.
Yep.
And I don't know. There are a lot of close-up shots of Gene Simmons, and he's not the kind of guy you want a lot of right in his face shots.
I will have to say though, of all of his performances, going back and watching this is probably one of the better acting ones that he's done. Because I kind of forget that it's Gene when I'm watching it.
Oh no, he's good. Yeah, he's good in this.
Most of his acting is not.
One person that's in this movie, and it's funny because I totally forgot, is her name's Alice Nunn. Most people know her as Large Marge, man.
Large Marge, man.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Yeah. And, man, that's just... There's a lot of faces in here you'll recognize, but those are mainly the few top people. I mean, this movie, you were talking about it earlier, and before we get into it, that's one thing I was kind of talking to my wife about. She had never seen this, and I was showing it to her. There's a scene where they have Sammy Kerr in front of the house for, I don't know what it is. It's like some legal proceeding, and back during this time period, you had bands like Wasp and Twisted Sister that were actually doing that.
It was the PMRC thing that was going on. Tipper Gore was in charge of it. She's the reason that we wanted to have the parental advisory stickers on your music, which just made the album sell more, right?
Oh yeah.
But that's what that whole thing was trying to censor music because it was just getting out of hand. So I always love the aspect of that, as we always think of, your Republicans are the ones that are trying to keep everybody. No, man, this was Tipper Gore, Al Gore's wife, in charge of this. And even John Denver showed up and defended these guys. And they thought he would come in and say, oh, this music nowadays, it needs to be pulled back. No, he was like, man, you guys are making a huge mistake doing this. And so they were totally kind of tipping the hat to that kind of situation, because it was going on right when this was happening. So,
well, and I feel if a lot of people saw this and they saw the way Sammy Kerr is the lead singer of his own band, if people see the way he dresses, the way he acts, the things he does, and then him going up in front of them talking about that, it's just like the whole Ozzy biting the head off a dove, and because Sammy in this movie bites a snake in half, and So I mean, this was pretty much reflecting what was going on directly at this time.
That's what I mean, I can't make people understand that enough. I mean, maybe that's why people think it's so cheesy and stuff, because they think it's all blown out of proportion, but this is what was going on, man. This is what the bands looked like. This was the music. I mean, Wasp was up there drinking blood out of skulls, eating raw meat. You know, like you said, Ozzy with, you know, I think on the stage it was the bat thing that he did. He did the doves at the release party for his first album.
Yeah, in front of all the execs and stuff.
Incredible. But, you know, I mean, this was the stage show, and you know, it's art. I mean, even if you don't want to look at it that way, it's them pretending to be something that they're not. So they tried to make Sammy that in real life. Even though he was in a suit in front of the PMRC or whatever this thing was, he was still Sammy. And we'll get to the scene of that here in a minute, because I don't want to ruin it till we get to it, but it's amazing.
So this movie starts off, and does it start off right away in a locker room scene?
No, it starts off with Eddie, or Ragman, is sitting and writing a letter on his bed.
That's what it is, yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of intermingles. He's writing, but it's also giving you a backstory of what he's dealing with. And I'm telling you, man, this was the mindset of the youth at this point. To all your metalheads, it was me against the world. I mean, you know, you listen to these bands, nobody understands you, which was always the appeal, right? You wanted to be the loner and all that kind of stuff. But he's writing a letter to Sammy Kerr, his hero, who actually went to the same high school he did. So it's an even bigger, you know, deal that, you know, that's his hero. And while that's going on, it shows him some scenes of him going to school, and he's infatuated with this girl named Leslie, who has not the time of day for him. And you get some preps that are picking on him, and they do the old put the hole in the chocolate milk carton. You know, when you pick it up and drink it, it spills down your shirt, and you know, so everybody's being mean to him because he's just an easy target.
Like when they're picking on him, they're kind of verbalizing, you know, that he's a freak and who listens to that kind of music and stuff.
Right.
I mean, even the teenagers at that time that were, you know, the jocks and the preps thought that people like that were weird. You know, why would you listen to Sammy Kerr?
Yep. And I mean, again, I was living this, because I remember, I mean, I was in a very small school, and I was accepted, but this is what I was listening to. And I remember one of the jocks one time came up and was like, "Hey, man, I bought that new Judas Priest album." I'm like, wow, that's a breakthrough, you know? And I was like, well, what'd you think about it? Well, I don't know. I've just listened to that one song they play on MTV. I'm like, well, there you go. It doesn't matter then, you know?
Yeah.
If you're just buying it for the one song, then whoopity-doo, you know? But he felt, you know, that put him in that category of, you know, being on the cool side because he was listening to Priest, and, you know, he knew one song.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Man, imagine the you know, the plethora of gold he would discover if he listened to the rest of albums.
Right, yeah. And that's what I told him. I said, hey, guess what? If you like one song, you'll probably like another that's on there.
It's funny how this works. He signs off on the letter, you know, that, you know, hopefully he'll be able to get out of this town too, just like you did, and overcome, you know, the basically the whole outcast thing of, you know, just not fitting in, small town.
You get this whole Rock's chosen warrior thing that's kind of the feel in the air, right? They're gonna rule the apocalypse. So there's all this crazy talk that was, you know, just kind of bogus stuff. Oh, we can't forget the locker room scene.
Oh, the locker room scene, like, it sets it up as basically, it's like if they were setting, there were a lot of parallels to this in Carrie. A lot of them. Yes. And the first scene of it, or, you know, after the letter of the locker room, they basically strip him down and lock him in the gymnasium with the girls' volleyball team.
I love the fact that the girl just happened to have a Polaroid on her, right?
Oh, I know. She was in on it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they found one of his cassettes, they took it away from him, they're, you know, passing it around, and he's just come out of the shower. Like you said, he slides to catch the tape and slides right out the door. They open the door up and pull the towel off of him, and he's naked in front of all these girls playing volleyball. So, yeah.
If you are going to find comedy in a movie like this, I do think, you know, it's horrible what they do to him, but it's funny the way he handles it, because he basically crawls, like the back part of his body is, or the lower half is paralyzed. He just crawls on his hands, dragging his stomach out of out of the locker room or the gymnasium. That's pretty funny. I mean, he had the right idea.
Well, and I think that was director's choice too. Hey, we don't need to really see anything here,
Yeah. I'm gonna make a whole series of family films in the future. We don't need any sausage in this.
We don't need no Air Willies.
Airpud.
Airpud. Oh, that's good. I like that.
Oh man.
So, while that's going on, he finishes the letter, and there's a theme throughout this whole movie. I brought this up when I did on House of Wax, but it seems like every time they're home, they're washing clothes. So Skippy's going, he's getting his clothes, he's taking them to the washing machine, and he turns on the TV when he walks by, and he's got his Walkman on too, so he's jamming out, turn the TV on, and sure enough, there's the thing about Sammy's on TV, and it's what we were talking about earlier, the PTA, or the PMRC kind of thing going on. It shows, at this point, Large Marge, and she is the president of the PTA, and she's talking about how, this music is, bad stuff and all this stuff and all that, and then it shows, Sammy in his suit giving the rundown on those guys, in the government about the PMRC stuff. We will bring you down. You see Ragman kind of give a yeah kind of thing. And then it says, as we were saying earlier, Sammy Kerr dead at the age of 39 in a hotel fire.
Well, and it's funny too because
you can see him just
the still they use of it, man. The screenshot of Sammy. It looks like he just smelled a bad fart.
It's my favorite, man. I'm going to post it out there. I love that shot. It's Sammy Kerr and gives you the birth date and the death date, and he's just like,
it's like someone ripped a skanker in there.
It's the best, man. I love it. I want that on a shirt.
Oh, man, it can be done.
At this point, Ragman goes back to his bedroom and just starts tearing down every poster on the wall. He's upset. And dude's got a pretty massive collection. I mean, there's 2 or 3. There's a Mylar Kiss Love Gun poster that's on the wall that would be worth a bunch right now.
Oh yeah.
He wouldn't have ripped it in half. So, so he's tearing everything down, and the Lizzie Borden poster, that deserved to be ripped in half. And there's a few of them there. It's like, okay, yeah, that can go. And but yeah, my heart fluttered after a couple of those, But then he goes up and he sees Sammy's poster and he's going to rip it, and he stops, and it's Sammy just looking down at him, right? And he just kind of freezes. And at this time, you get, like I said, Fastway in the background playing the song called "Tear Down the Walls." It's killer, man. It's fantastic. This is where he actually goes, because it's the morning, and he's actually he goes by the radio station and meets Nuke.
That's what it is, yeah.
Yeah, and I've got a soundbite of that. We was talking about Gene earlier, so this is Gene Simmons' character. And for you guys that have listened to my other show called Under My Wheels, it starts off with this. So I've always loved this opening for this.
Wake up, sleepyheads. It's party time! Yeah! This is the old Nooster coming at you right here on this fine Rocktober morning. It's the sweeping sensation that's sweeping the nation, and I'm going to do it to you right here, right now. Wow!
Classic.
Well, what's real crazy about this is when he gets there, and it's like, Gene Simmons acts like he went to school with him and stuff.
Yeah, it's like they were high school friends or whatever, and because he tries to tell Eddie the whole time, he's like, look, man, this Rock's Chosen Warrior thing, it's just way out of proportion. It's not who he was in school and all this kind of stuff. So he's kind of giving him that. It's like, Sammy started believing his own hype. I love you got Gene sitting there, and he's got like Terminator shades on and a cowboy hat with lots of little pins stuck in it. It's like, yeah, that'll work. But what they got is he's got an actual copy of an acetate. So you got the actual press recording from the the recording studio of Sammy's last recording. And the deal was he was supposed to play it on Halloween night at midnight And Sammy had contacted him before he died and said, hey, I kind of want to do this thing. So that's kind of what they were going to do. But this was the only copy that there is. So there was no manufacturing of the album. This is the only copy. And he sees how Ragman is all tore up over the deal, so he basically just gives him the copy of the album. And he's like, oh, wait a minute, I thought you had to play this at midnight. And he's like, yeah, I already copied it on tape. So Gene is bootlegging for the radio station. How cool is that?
Well, also just a handsome random teen, like the only copy in existence of the only hard copy. Because I mean, you can transfer it to tape, but it's not going to be as good.
Well, my thing is, the record company's going to want to release this because now he's dead.
Yeah.
He's going to have the album's going to sell like crazy. But that's a different way to go based off of what happens in this movie. You don't really want that to happen from this point. This goes back to school the next day, and this is where Leslie walks up to Eduardo, or Ragman, and says, hey, here's your cassette. So she got the cassette that they actually threw in there for him to chase after, and then she invites him to a pool party.
Well, she gives him a picture of his bum back, too.
Yeah. Was it soiled?
You do not want to know what these guys were doing with this.
So she invites him to the pool party, and he shows up, and he's not dressed to swim at all. He's still in his combat jacket and jeans and Converse backpack. And of course, when he goes inside, you see, a lot of people just partying. You see some naked people that shouldn't be the ones you see naked. I mean, there's some other ones you're like, yeah, what? No, not that one. The other one, no. But he goes in there, and then our main bad guy, whose name is Tim, comes up to him and is like, what are you doing here? And tries to give him a hard time. And they start messing with him. And they end up putting a weight in the back of his backpack and shoving him off in the pool, and he just sinks to the bottom.
So was their end game killing him? Or?
No, man, these are just those kind of guys, man. I mean, as much as I relate to what Eddie is going through, there was these kind of guys, man. I mean, if you didn't belong, and I'm going to sound bad here, but we always talk about how bullying is such a thing now, and I know it's different, but bullies were different when I was in school, because they would put you near to death for just fun, and this was not that far out from things I've seen happen at school, so I don't know. Calling somebody a name on the internet is not near as traumatic as, some of the things that I saw happen. But anyway,
oh no, dude, I used to get legit like beat down and knocked out.
Yeah,
but that's a story for another day. One thing about this though, with crap, what's the main character's name?
Eddie. It's
weird because he's kind of an introvert, and he's he doesn't fit in with any of the people there, but he still decides to go to this party, which is just, I don't know, it's such a weird decision for him.
Well, he likes Leslie, and this is the first time she's even paid attention to him, so he's in, right?
She's seen his ass, and she didn't run away.
Right. Yeah, she must be a keeper. But I think, it's that thing again of, hey, these guys, these kind of people are going to be mean to me regardless of where I'm at. Might as well take my chances, right? So he's probably never been invited to anything like this, so there you go. But they put him in the pool, and he sinks like lead to the bottom, and then you see the shot up from the bottom of the pool, and you can see them standing along the edge of the pool and kind of laughing. Then all of a sudden you see somebody jump in, this Leslie. She comes down and picks him up, and you find out he's in the shallow end of the pool. He could have just stood up and been fine. So there you go. So they're kind of laughing at him about that. And he runs outside, she chases after him, and this is where he tells him he's going to nail them all. Then he walks off in squeaky shoes, because they're wet. We did a whole thing on House of Wax about the squeaky shoe.
He goes home, and he's angry about it, and I don't know how does he figure out the backmasking on it? It just plays automatically backwards, doesn't it?
Well, he puts the album on to just chill out because, that's what I do. When I want to chill out, I'll throw on the heaviest music I can think of. And he's laying there and he falls asleep, and that's when he starts having that vision, is the dream, right? Where it's the burning house, and he goes up there and Sammy's in the circle and he's doing the backward speech stuff. And when he wakes up, that's what's stuck on the record. It's just playing over and over. So he walks over to it and puts his finger on it, and it stops, and he starts spinning it backward, and that's when it starts telling him, you're the bait, let the big fish catch themselves, you're the bait is you. So he hears that, and he goes to school the next day, and you see him, like, setting up things. Like, he takes a mop bucket and sets it out in the middle of an alleyway, moves a table a certain way, moves a chair a certain way in these alleyways, and he goes in to eat lunch, and he takes Tim's lunch and just throws it all over him, and him and his whole bunch jump up and start chasing him, and and then everywhere he runs, the things that he put in place take a few of the guys out of the picture, right? So it's like he's getting revenge on them. And he ducks into this room. I mean, there's a thing where they run through the library, they run through a music class, and all these kind of goofy things. So that may be the comedy thing they're talking about with all this, because
the library part for sure.
Well, the dude too that slips on the wet floor and he goes woo, and he goes right out the door. Yeah. And then when they see him, they think he went in this one room, and they get a fire extinguisher, and they open the door, and it's the teacher's, conference room where they're just kind of sitting around the lounge or whatever.
Dude, I love
and they're
that.
just spraying all the teachers with the fire extinguisher. And he was actually in the room across. So at that point, he goes back and he gets his buddy Roger to come over and listen to the record and show him the message that he heard, right? And say, what do you think? And he's like, yeah, he says something goofy about well, it's thrashing and it's heavy and it's got a good beat, that kind of thing. Matter of fact, I've got a sample of, let's see, here's the backward message.
Let the big fish hook themselves. You're the bait. The bait is you.
So there you go. And that's kind of what he hears. Plays that for Roger later on. He's like, yeah, I don't really hear it. And he's like, look, man, I did what it said. Everything worked out great. For the first time, I got him, right? So, this is where Eddie goes back later and he's playing the message again. And the record starts talking to him about, nail them all. We got to start doing these things, and, we're going to get them all back. And then all of a sudden he says, be quiet. And all of a sudden his mom knocks on the door. So strange things are happening, right?
Well, we talked about his friend Roger for a second, but throughout all of this, he's kind of the voice of reason, telling,
Sure.
He looks at everything from like a logical standpoint, like, well, nothing's ever gone your way, so surely something was bound to go your way. And it's cool because later in the movie, it kind of turns a little bit, like Roger changes.
Yeah, well, of course, he looks like an 80s version of Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, yeah.
He's kind of got that kind of look about him. And who else is a headbanger going to have for a friend? It's going to have to be, one of the nerdy guys. The mom knocks on the door and wants to know if everything's all right. Yeah, everything's fine, Mom. And then he goes back to the record, and it's saying Metal Machine 6 Crush, right? So he keeps hearing that over and over, and it cuts to school. And the door, he's standing in front of a set of doors, and there's a 66 at the top of the door, and it's the machine shop that they have class in. And he just goes in there, sits down at the desk, starts eating. There's nobody in there. He's just kind of waiting because he thinks, okay, I'm just supposed to be in here. And then Tim and one of his other henchmen show up, and they start roughing Eddie up. Hey, we had to do janitorial, duties for the past 3 hours or whatever. And I thought, well, that's kind of funny, because if they had to do janitorial duties, then why are they wearing, ties?
Yeah. Well, that was odd in general, just the fact that, he's walking around the school. It's like he's going to an interview or something.
Preppies, man, I'm telling you, we had them. I mean, I remember seeing guys wearing ties, too. It's just a weird thing. Everybody was influenced by different things, when you look at the MTV generation in the 80s. I mean, we always see these 80s parties, and everybody thinks you're supposed to wear the neon colors and the leg warmers. That was just one group. There was a bunch of different 80s looks, right? And I'm sorry to say it, but the preppy look with the skinny ties and all that, big part of it. They go in there to rough him up, and they start throwing wrenches and stuff at him, getting ready to really start beating him up. And then Tim's tie gets caught in a metal lathe, and it pulls him down to it. And I'm thinking, all right, we're going to get some Fulci stuff going on right here.
Yeah, it really sets it up to be like that. And it's weird because it goes up to his, almost like up to his head, like within like a centimeter. And he stops it, and the preppy guy's still angry. He's like, I'm going to get you. And I'm like, you just saved your life, dude.
Exactly. Shut it off. And then when he finally turns it off, dude's choking, right?
Yeah.
And he stands and goes, this ain't over. I was like, well, I think it's pretty much over. And then after that, Ed's all happy because now it's like the record tells him what to do, and he does it. And they get their just desserts, right? So he jumps in his car. Here's one thing I don't know if you've noticed, but it's like every time they play some of the music, except for when Sammy's on stage, all the music's like backwards.
Yeah, I noticed that. I mean, even when he's in his car driving around.
Yeah, I mean, so he throws this cassette in, and it's obviously backwards, and he's just jamming out to it, running all the stoplights. But anyways,
this is really good. Imagine if you listen to it forward.
Well, I mean, some movies are probably better backwards, so maybe some music is too. Who knows? We just talked about Jaws the other day, and I said Jaws is the ultimate movie to watch in reverse, because it's about a shark that keeps throwing up people till it gets so populated they have to open a beach.
Is after this whenever he does the peace offering with the bully?
Oh yeah, we're getting there. This is where when Ed's out driving, this is where his mom's in his room, and she starts looking at all the album covers and hits the stereo, and it freaks out and gets real loud. And he comes in, and he's like, "What are you doing?" Just bringing your clothes in. And yeah, man, he throws that cassette, a blank cassette in the cassette deck, and then throws the record on, and he dupes a copy of the record. But this thing's like, it just starts. Makes a copy in like 20 seconds, man. It's like, wow. Man, if we had that back in the day.
Or now.
Yeah. And then, like the next day at school, Eddie's walking in there. He's all happy. Everybody's like, hey, didn't see you last night. Everything, yeah, everything's great. Everything's good. So he's like in the best mood of his life. Because when you're wearing a zebra skin headband, life is good.
Well, it's just, the way he carries himself, everything, it's like he's on top of the world. And even they're like, nobody, it's just not his personality. Nobody recognizes that version of him.
Yeah, and that's where he leaves the cassette, and it says a peace offering, and it's just, you have no idea what's on the cassette. And then it cuts away to Tim and Jeannie. Jeannie's the girl's name that is his main squeeze, I guess you'd say. And they're out in the car, they're making out. Tim says he has to go whiz. And so Jeannie slaps the cassette in the cassette player in the Walkman. And
straight to
take it away,
Beantown,
Johnny.
Man. I don't know. The music starts unbuttoning her shirt, and he's some titties start popping out, titties, and next thing you know, man, it's like full on like Cinemax After Dark. Until at one point she opens her eyes, and there's some Green Goblin looking thing, and not like Spider-Man's Green Goblin. It's like an actual it's kind of like the Macaroni Goblin from Mandy. It's like very, very puppety looking.
Yeah, it's kind of cheaply looking, but hey, you open your eyes, you're kind of getting off, and this is what you see down there. Yeah, it's not a good move.
Yeah,
even if it is a puppet.
Dude, she brought out a goblin.
I always thought this was awesome because Tim comes running back and sees her laying in the back seat, and she's obviously naked, and he reaches up and her ears are smoking, where the headphones are, and he pulls one of the headphone earpieces away, and her ear is just like melted. It really looks awesome.
Oh yeah, it may be like the most like grotesque effect they have in this movie, honestly.
Yeah, so
it's a melted ear.
Yeah, it's great. And that's where it cuts back to Ed's home, and then his mom is exercising and watching Ozzy on TV. And Ozzy is a preacher, who's talking about song lyrics. And
It's all
unlike
sexual.
Gene, it's just all I get out of this is a sexual act. So where Gene is delivering probably his best performance, yeah, Ozzy is not a good actor.
And this is Ozzy in his heyday too. Post Sabbath. The height of his '80s career.
Well,
and,
this was right when he was drying out. At this point, he was.
Oh, was he drying out?
He was in rehab, and when you see him with his hair is really kind of short, that's kind of when he was going through a lot of the rehab stage. And yeah, this is where Decline of the Western Civilization Part 2 and all that stuff was going on. So he was in this point where he was trying to dry out.
Oh, okay.
So
that makes more sense.
I don't know if that means anything to his performance. He'd probably been better if he was high.
Yeah. Oh man.
Do it like a dog.
Is this the night that the bully comes over to his house?
Yeah, it's right there where we're at. So Tim shows up, and again, I told my wife when I was skimming through this again, I was like, you got an '80s movie when your preppy is driving an Oldsmobile Cutlass. But he pulls up and starts yelling for Ed to come out front. This scene's fantastic, man.
Oh, this is awesome. Tim tells me that she's like in the hospital. I thought she was dead.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be
after
pretty
she was
gnarly.
laying there naked, and he went ahead and had another 10-15 minutes with her. Then he took her to the hospital. Right?
Yeah. He's like, you know how hard it is when a girl doesn't have ears?
Oh man.
But I like the scene because he's talking to Eddie, and he kind of raises his voice and kind of goes a little bit toward Eddie, and the two pumpkins on the porch flare up with flames. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's just a really, really cool little thing, and he notices it, and so he kind of backs off. He's like, "Man, I just want you to stay away from me, man." Which is funny because he's in Eddie's position. Eddie probably wished the same thing at the beginning of the movie.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he does his hand to at Tim, hey, stand back, and when he does, those flames come up out of those jack-o'-lanterns, and it's like, okay, I tell you what, I'm gonna go ahead and get in my car now and leave, but I'm really angry with you. And when you're not teamed up with Satan, then, I'll get you one of these days. And then this gets to where Ed goes back inside, and he's talking to Sammy again through the record, saying, okay, what happened? What'd you do to Jeannie? Nail them all. And then he brings up Leslie's name. And, then Eddie's like, no, man, she's innocent. She had nothing to do with it. And he's like, nail them all. And his mom knocks on the door, and he's like, let her in, we'll nail her too. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. And I got the sound bite because this is where Sammy is a ventriloquist.
Whoa!
Oh, that's not it.
That one's fun, though. I like that.
Oh, here we go.
Mom, I can't talk to anybody now. Please, just go away. Mom, could you come in here? Don't come in. What? Mom, do not come in here. Please come in, Mom. No, please do not come in here, Mom. Don't come in. Please come in.
Eddie!
No, Mom, don't. Look, I can't do anything right now, all right?
Look at you, you're sweating. Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. You know what it is? I'm tired. I'm very...
But you've got a fever.
No, really, I'm fine.
So, yeah, I mean, you're getting to the point now to where Eddie's starting to see how real this is. It's one thing to say, I'm going to get those guys, and they're going to pay, and I'm going to nail every one of them. And then when it starts happening, you're like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I didn't really mean it.
Well, and Sammy, and that's the thing, too, is if it had gone the way that Sammy wanted it to go, I mean, the mom ends up dead, or she ends up committing her son for, schizophrenia with, the two personalities. Come in the room. Don't come in the room.
I think my son's possessed. So at this point, he tries to unplug the stereo, and when he's doing this, then all of a sudden you get a light show coming out of the stereo, man. It's pretty awesome looking. And then all of a sudden, there's a Pepsi sitting up there. There's no telling how old it is, but it pours out, and it pours on the album and starts burning up the record, which, again, kids, public service announcement, if a Pepsi can do that to a record, imagine what it can do to your insides.
Well, you see what it does to the speaker next. It gives it spikes or something, like pulsating spikes.
Yeah, it ends up getting like veins and stuff popping in. So you're getting some Cronenberg type effects going on, right? You know, instead of it being the TV screen like in Videodrome, you're getting the speakers where the face will have an impression on it and all that kind of stuff. And it's Sammy trying to come out, right? And all of a sudden, the stereo just gets dead quiet, and Eddie's on the floor, and then bang! Sammy's standing in front of him. And that's this is where he walks by a TV, and Ozzy comes on the TV. These bad people just have to be stopped. And he just takes his hand and goes across the screen, and it like distorts Ozzy's face, and you hear Ozzy scream. So it's like he killed him through the TV.
Yeah, I like that, and there's more of that to come too.
Oh yeah. And so this is. Let's see, what did Shocker came after this, right?
Yeah, Shocker was like 89, I think.
Yeah, so it kind of took some of these ideas, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Kind of what I think.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I think. So this one was kind of ahead of the curve.
Well, this is way better than Shocker too.
I have to agree. Yeah. So take that.
They both have similar soundtracks, though.
Yes, they do. But this is where Sammy gives him the speech of, you know, you should be loyal to your heroes because they could turn on you. And it's like, whoa, okay, that's kind of a threat. And then Sammy just disappears. Then Eduardo grabs a baseball bat and just beats a stereo to death. And his mom is like, what are you doing? He's like, yeah, I wanted a new one.
That is, at this point, she should be starting to really worry. She's worried because he has a fever. I'm like, your son just destroyed like $1,000 stereo and was talking in two different personalities.
Well, and of course, you know, you always have to have the totally disconnected parents in these kind of stories, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's just how these stories work. And but you know, she was in there messing around earlier, and the stereo came on automatically. So you know, she can't be that naive to what's happening, right?
I don't know, man. Like, she seemed pretty content in the room when she was doing like the thigh workout or whatever she was doing.
At this point, now Ed's been grounded, so he can't go anywhere. So he calls Roger, and Roger shows off his call waiting, which was a new thing at the time.
I didn't know call waiting came out in the 80s. I thought it was like a 90s thing.
Yeah, there you go. It's the 80s, man, the best time. But we kind of get this conversation now. Instead of just talking about it, I'll just let them talk about it.
I really need your help, okay? This is incredibly important.
Well, what is it?
There's a cassette tape that Tim has. It's probably in his car.
What about it?
I need you to go get it.
Well, you're the one with the death wish. Why don't you get it?
Because I can't go get it. Okay, listen, Roger, if I go get it now, if I leave the house, I'll really blow it with my mom, all right? I'm grounded through Halloween. She's totally freaking out.
About what?
Eddie?
I'll explain later. Now, this tape is real shiny. You can't miss it, all right? And when you find it, you've got to destroy it. Do you hear me? And if you don't find it, you got to call me back so I can think of something else, all right? Now, I'm counting on you. Okay, I'll be waiting by my phone. Okay, Roger, I'll talk to you a little bit later. Okay, bye.
So there you go. There's the nutshell of what's happening. He feels like, okay, now we've got to start confiscating all the copies of this and destroying it, because that's how you're going to keep him from getting out there and doing things to other people. So it's a pretty cool idea, man. I really like it.
Yeah, and I like this because I don't know. It's basically kind of like one of those Beetlejuice situations too, where you know, once Sammy gets into the real world, he doesn't really need him anymore.
Right. Yeah. And that's the whole point. I mean, Sammy's trying to come back and rule from beyond the grave.
Well, it's funny too, because it's like, is he trying to get back at the town or just his school? I mean, maybe the town because of the radio station. But it's like, even in the afterlife, he has some pretty small time goals.
Well, you know, he don't want to get too big. He's no Beyonce, right, or anybody like that. So,
I don't think you're ready for this devil. No.
So, by the way, this is Halloween Day, right? So he said he's grounded through Halloween. Well, that's just this day that he's on today.
She is not very strict.
Yeah, no. Well, she dresses like Madonna for Halloween, so how strict can she be?
Oh, and I love that the boyfriend, her random boyfriend is dressed like Rambo.
Yeah.
But he's like the most weaselly looking little dude.
Yeah, he's a little dude. But Roger goes to break into Tim's car, and he's got a coat hanger, and he's trying to unlock it, and then he realizes the car's already unlocked. So he just reaches in the car and gets the cassette. Then has to go back and get his coat hanger that he forgot that he left in there that he was trying to, break the lock with. Jumps on his moped and takes off. And then he gets back to the house, and he sees the cassette, and he don't really want to destroy it. He wants to see what's on it. So he's looking at it. He's going to put it in the player, and then the phone rings. It scares him. And it's his buddy. Eddie's saying, "Hey, did you destroy it?" Yeah, sure I did. Yeah. And so he hangs up, and then he pops it in the player, starts playing it, goes in the kitchen to make him some kind of messed up smoothie. Electricity starts going crazy, and there you go. Whippity bop! There's Sammy standing in front of him. This is where he gives him instructions of what he wants him to do that night, and it kind of sounds like this.
Roger.
I am a big fan of yours. I have all your records.
Shut up.
Gilstrom seem to have self-destructed. Our weekly focus
Play
looks
my tape for me tonight.
Well, Sylvia Savelle was a close friend of the
Or
late
die.
Gilstrom.
So, play my tape for me tonight or die. So he wants him to take it to the school dance, and play the backwards tape.
It's kind of a catch-22 also, because it's like, he's probably going to die if he plays it also.
Yeah. So,
well,
this is the easy threat.
In the background of the scene is whenever Large Marge from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, she's another one of those angry, people who hates heavy metal and rock music, or seems like she just hates all music. And he reaches through the TV and grabs her and pulls her into the living room, Roger's living room.
It's the best, man. Burnt to a crisp. I mean, she is nothing but just a cinder at this point. And he drops her on the ground, and she just breaks to pieces.
Well, and I think the best part of this, though, is like right after the scene, it cuts to Roger vacuuming her ashes up.
Yeah. He's got the Hoover out, and he's just trying to vacuum her up.
And she is ashes and stuff, but she's like lump. Lumpy ash.
It's hilarious, man. And he just reaches and grabs her by the neck and pulls her through. To me, if you're going to show anybody one scene from the movie, that's the one I always have to go with, because it's awesome. Such a great idea.
And I want to say that does it cut to the dance after this?
Well, at this point, that's where you kind of see Mom and Stan, who are about to go out, and they leave Eddie in charge of handing out the candy. And, then it cuts to the school dance, and Roger comes in, he's got a cassette, and he goes over and he starts playing it. And and that's when you get this right here, where the little girl's at the door.
The trees, Mama feet. Whoa!
Whoa!
So she's at the door at first, and the phone rings, and he just slams the door and says, "Come back tomorrow," I think is what he says. Slams the door, go answer the phone, and it's his girlfriend Leslie, and she's talking about, "Are you not coming to the dance?" "No, I'm grounded." "Well, yeah." And he's like, "Wait a minute, what's that I hear in the background?" And he hears Roger playing the tape, so he's going now. And what you just heard is where the little girl is still standing at the door, says the same thing, and he just dumps the whole thing in her bag. And that from now on is going to be a short bus sound bite, because I just love the
Whoa!
Whoa! Woo! I just love the fact that it's a good few minutes before he comes back to the door, and she's just still standing there with her bag out.
She never left.
She is persistent.
Yeah, determined to get that candy. And then Eddie jumps in his car, and as soon as he does, you get to hear Sammy come on and tells him this.
Going to a party? I don't think so.
So Sammy's now driving the car.
Yeah, at this point, it's become it's your full-on paranormal, possessed car movies.
Right. Yeah, because the dude is dressed like a ghost that's on the bicycle, and he runs him off the bridge. and he drives under a semi-trailer and it chops the top off the car, and then the car is on fire and it goes to the ledge of a bridge that's out, or it's a breakaway bridge or whatever. And
well, Eddie's got some pretty good reflexes, because there were several times he should have been dead.
Right, yeah. And he reaches in when the car's balancing on the bridge. He reaches and grabs the cassette and pulls it out and just rips the tape up and jumps out of the car and takes running back to the school. So again, you're getting this whole thing of, if you stop the music, you stop him. And this is where it gets even crazier, because now, back at the school, you get the introduction of this band that's going to play. And again, Roger's been playing this cassette the whole time. The guitar player goes over, he's having trouble with his amp, and all of a sudden a hand comes out of the amp and grabs that guy by the throat, and he just blows up. It's like a big explosion on the stage, and the guitar comes flying, and Sammy's in center stage, and he catches it, and he works up the crowd, gets them into the show.
This is a cool scene, man.
Pounding. Oh, it's fantastic. The only thing is, you can start seeing some of the Solid Gold dancer stuff.
Oh yeah, he does several twirls with that guitar, man. And my wife is like, "How is he not getting tangled up in the cord?" And there's one scene where he like wiggles his ass, and then he jumps backwards and does a spin in the air, and you see that like the cord's underneath him. And I said, "That's how you do it, right there."
Right. Yeah, I'm of course in my mind I'm like, why didn't they just give him a wireless mic? You know,
make it a little easier.
I mean, they had him at this point, so.
Hey, they had call waiting. They had cordless mics. They probably even had mic waiting for Milli Vanilli.
It's great because it works the crowd up, and they're all there, they're partying, they're like, he's even better than the real Sammy.
That's the funny part, yeah. Like, is that they think it's this really good impersonator.
And he's breaking off these guitar solo, and you see lightning coming off his fingers. Then all of a sudden he just starts shooting people in the crowd with the guitar, and they're exploding and just disappearing. It's like zaps them right there on the spot. So at this point, the crowd is taking off. They're scared. Poor old Humpty Dumpty up there, man.
Oh yeah, he gets zapped.
Yeah, so like you said, it's very Carrie-esque at this point, right? Because the crowd's running like crazy, and he's just doing whatever he wants to. He's swinging from the basketball goals and blowing people up. Everything's fun until he turns around and kills the drummer, and then everybody just, all right, it's over now.
Oh, now we don't have a beat.
Yeah. And again, I mean, the Fastway soundtrack of this is just, is just killer.
Well, I think it's cool that the band knew his songs that had never been released.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, they hopped right into those.
This might have been an older song, though. We don't know.
Oh,
this could have been a early career song at this point, because he was 39 when he died, so he probably had his heyday in his 20s or whatever, right? That's a lot of speculation for this movie.
We're asking questions nobody else did in making this.
At this point, you got a scene where Leslie leaves when all the chaos is happening to go to the bathroom. I don't know if she's changing back into civilian clothes or what. She's tired of her costume, but Tim follows her in there, and he starts making his move on her. Are you making it with Weinbauer, which is Eddie's last name, and all this kind of stuff. And then he ends up making a move on her. She runs out. He starts chasing her, and in the background you can hear all the chaos that's going on, but they just don't care. That's what's nuts about it. I mean, nobody's reacting. It's like, yeah, I hear people screaming and explosions, but I'm just worried about this guy that's hitting on me. So, yeah. But they get in this hallway, and then Eddie shows up and sees Tim, and they kind of get in a little confrontation. Then all of a sudden, electricity kind of happens behind Tim, so Sammy's on his way. And at this point, Eddie's trying to save Tim, even though he don't like him. He knows that something bad's about to happen. Well, Tim doesn't agree with him, and then Sammy grabs a hold of him and picks him up and slams him against the ceiling and the walls and the floor. And
so, yeah, this is right before they leave, right?
Yeah, so this is in the hallway, and they're fighting, and then that's where Roger shows up, and he takes I don't know if it's a crowbar or what, but he pops the electrical panel open and shocks himself to get rid of Sammy, which I still haven't figured out how that really works, but okay.
Yeah, no, that logic doesn't work.
I mean, I understand stopping the music, But stopping electricity, I mean, yeah, I'm not sure. Even though it looks really good when he does it, because he does almost kind of a Freddy Krueger kind of disappearing, thing that happens. It looks really cool for the time.
Oh, yeah. And at this point, I think, isn't Eddie, wanted for questioning or something?
Oh, yeah, they walk out front of the school, and everybody's like, hey, there he is. That's the guy responsible for all this.
Which, how
Eddie Widepower.
How do they, I don't understand how they came to that conclusion.
Yeah, I don't either. I guess because of the music, because Roger was playing the music, and it had to be Eddie because he's the weird metalhead guy. I don't know. We just had to have a reason for the cops to chase him. That's really what it comes down to.
Oh yeah, and you get a really cool cop scene too, where well, first of all, I think this is they go to Eddie's house, right? And
you're on it first because they're going across a yard. And Sammy jumps out of a
That's
window.
what it is. Yeah, Sammy's in someone else's house breaking their stuff.
So what's happening now is Sammy can make your radio turn on and turn over to the radio station that's playing his soundtrack now, or the new album, and he can just pop up anywhere he wants to as long as there's current, I guess. And he just jumps through this random window out of a house for, I don't know, just because he wants to, I guess. But when he does, a cop sees what's going on, and I've got a sound bite of that right here as well. Goes like this.
This is Shevin Baker requesting backup at 4th and Chester. Have visual of suspect matching description of Edward Weinbauer and female companion. I also have one strange son of a bitch.
And
freeze your ass, buddy, or I'll give you a jolt you'll never forget.
So he shoots him with a stun gun, right?
And basically, he sends that current back into the cop, and it's just the police boots left there,
smoking boots. So there you go. Maybe that's some of your comedy stuff. I don't know, but for you guys that haven't seen this movie, I mean, obviously you can look up pictures of Sammy Kerr, but if you just look at Tommy Lee from Motley Crue back in the Shout at the Devil kind of days, if you took him and Nikki Sixx and mix them up, that's kind of this character. That's kind of what Sammy looks like, except he's burnt. Like half of his face is burnt because he died in this fire. So I guess when you come back from the grave, unlike in Star Wars, you come back, still with your wounds.
Well, that's in pretty poor taste if it was an impersonator. I mean, he's coming up there and performing with burns on him. It's like he died too soon, man.
Oh, hey, in the 80s we didn't call things like that. We just rolled with
exactly. Yeah.
But like you said, back at Eddie's house, though, they're in there, and he's going around, he's turning off all the radios or smashing them, but they forget one. There's one that's in the bathroom, and it's a little bitty radio, and you kind of get a foreshadowing of it early on, where Eddie's in the shower, and he's got the little radio playing. But the speaker's about as big as a dime, so somehow Sammy comes out of that speaker.
Well, isn't this before that where every room he's smashing it, then it comes on in the next room, and it just keeps going room to room.
Yeah,
I love this. That's
cool.
It's the toilet scene. I love that.
It's the toilet scene, right?
Love this.
Yeah, because he jumps down and they shut the bathroom door. Then you see the handprints burn through the door. Which I always thought was killer.
Yeah, that was really neat.
But the door just explodes, and when he comes in, he trips over something because rock stars, they got to wear those big, heavy, ugly boots and trip over stuff. And he trips, and his hand goes right in the toilet. You see him start electrocuting, right? So it's like electricity going in the water, and it's killing him. And he about gets out, and so they flush the commode to give him another jolt while they get away. Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of foreshadowing to what's going to happen next, but it's also, that was probably the one thing that was like, okay, man, he let a toilet take him down.
Right.
Well, because he seems completely helpless in that scene.
If that was going to be your sense of defense, why didn't you just get in the shower and turn the shower on and just stay in the water?
Oh, yeah. Because, obviously it's not going to go in there.
Yeah. But I guess because we have to proceed on, But anyways, they run outside to get in a car, and it's a white Pinto station wagon that they're trying to get, and then all of a sudden the radio changes over to the channel, and it starts getting possessed, and it starts running around backwards on its own because Sammy's driving it, I guess. Ed jumps out of it, and they find the cop car, and they find the boots that's just down the road where that cop got fried. So they get in the cop car, and they decide to go to the radio station. We're going to stop this main recording, and this will all be over. So they come up with this plan where they get to the radio station, and it looks like the bedroom in Poltergeist. Yeah. Electricity's going up and down the wall. Stuff is flying around. Yeah. And so Ed says, all right, here's what we're going to do, Leslie. You stay out here. You're going to count to 100. And I'm going to take the cop car, and I'm going to pull Sammy in there with me, and then you can run into the station and get rid of the tape. So that's the plan. That's kind of what they do. And he throws a little radio in the back seat of the cop car, so it's in a cage, so he can't really get to him. And he starts calling him out. Sammy pops up, and they, kind of have a back and forth, and he just runs off. Just like before, the car thought it was going to go off in the water. Well, this time he does. Which, again, we know the association of Sammy and the water. And about that time is exactly when she counts to 100, so I don't know how they worked that out.
Well, she was counting really slow, too.
Yeah, very slow. Then she runs in, pulls the reel-to-reel tape down, throws the machine down. Supposedly that's the end, right? And then we get the scene at the end where Eddie gets on the radio and he says exactly what Nuke said earlier, wake up, sleepyheads. Yeah.
Well, and then there's this part of me that feels like he's still a wanted fugitive, especially when they find just the cop's boots.
Yeah, I mean, being that they were last seen chasing Ed, and this is all they found of the cop. Yeah, I mean, nobody else knows that Sammy was killing all these people. So yeah, Eddie's your guy you should be after, right?
Dude, and they could do a follow-up to this, man. They could, it's Eddie. He's been in a sanitarium for like 30 years, and he finally gets out, man. And there's this new shock rocker, and he's like trying to warn everybody that this guy is the new one. I don't know.
Or what if there's a new shock rocker, but he's kind of an innocent dude, but Eddie turns him into, he starts killing people and blaming it on this guy. There's our twist.
That'd be awesome. Man, this is just a fun movie. I mean, it is. It's cool. It's just a really cool movie, and unfortunately, it's had the the bad luck of having music rights issues as far as releases go, and that's why nobody's really gone and upgraded the picture quality or anything, because I don't feel like any of the companies feel like it's ever going to get a release, or they're going to get to release it.
Yeah, I mean, it's still tied up with the rights of the music, and it's weird that a band like that would be the reason that they're holding back this movie. I mean, it's a De Laurentiis production, so, it'd be easy for it to get redone, remastered, and all that stuff, but they're kind of holding back with the rights of the music. So it's like, come on, guys. I mean, I don't know if you saw in the news or not, but Rat, because of they're in the Billboard Top 20 again.
That is insane,
because of that commercial.
Yeah, Geico.
So, yeah, why not go for it, man? Hey, let's re-release this movie. Who knows? We may have another resurgence of her career. I guarantee you we'll probably see a Rat reunion, because they're all split right now. All the people in the video, the commercial, there's only 2 of them that's actually from the band. Everybody else is different people. So I bet you we see what they can get back together. I know one of them's dead, but, I bet they have some sort of reunion because, hey, we've got the interest again. So who knows?
And when I saw that trending, that Rat was on the Billboard charts again, I was like, "That's insane, man!"
it's crazy. So hey, more power to them, man.
I don't know if we should rate this. I feel like because you can't rate this short bus style,
right? Nah. I mean, to me, it's just the overall impact of this movie. It's one we both love. Regardless of what anybody says. The main thing, we just wanted to kind of talk about it because I know Johnny just got a recent kind of upgrade version. I think you can get them from other countries and stuff and get a decent, scan of them.
Well,
I've got the actual copy that you were just talking about that's got Gene and Ozzy on the cover.
Well, that's the copy I had too, and my mother-in-law for my birthday got me the it was like a Blu-ray release of it from overseas, and man, like it has the whole Fastway soundtrack and stuff on as a special feature. But
cool.
The picture quality is the same as the DVD. Like, exactly.
Man.
So, I mean, there's really no upgrade with the picture or anything. I think I would love to see that, man. I know there's a German one called Ragman, and supposedly that one has, like, I don't know if it's 1080p or what, but it's supposed to be better than the DVD.
Yeah. We need a 4K scan so we can see that rubber monster attacking that girl in the car.
I want a 4K scan so I can see Large Marge get pulled out of the TV.
Yeah, man, it's the best, absolutely the best. But yeah, man, I've always loved this movie. I never get tired of it. It's not one I just kind of go, eh. It just hit all the right buttons for me growing up. I mean, it was right where I was when this came out. I was the target audience for this movie.
Well, dude, so, the thing is the nostalgia for all things 80s is so big. You would think that a movie like this would be right up everyone's alley right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's just goofy enough that you end up just saying, hey, this is a lot of fun. And at the end of the day, that's what you want to come away with, and that's kind of where horror movies were trending at this time, right? And you could say that kind of was the demise of it, which kind of led to the 90s kind of period. But this was the fun times. You're not going to outdo the first Halloween. You're not going to outdo The Exorcist. You're not going to outdo the first Texas Chainsaw. So at this point, you just have to do like the Italians do, and just, hey, let's just show them something they haven't seen before. So that's where these movies kind of fell into place. And I don't know, man. I love a lot of movies that came out at this point, and a lot of them are super cheesy. That's how you end up with Death Spa and things like that, right?
Well, hey, have you were you at Texas Frightmare in, I think it was 2000? Man, I want to say it was when it was still at the old convention center. It must have been 2010 or 11, I don't know. And Robert Hull, who did Laid to Rest, was talking about remaking this. Like he had footage they had shot.
Yeah.
Called Old Scratch.
Well, yeah, and there was I believe Mark Prince was supposed to be there, or Mark Price, right?
Yeah.
He was supposed to have been there that year and backed out.
Mm-hmm. And like the musician who was in the movie, like I know they had the guy from Buck Cherry, which I mean, whatever. But the footage they showed from what was already shot is, I don't know if it was like demo reels or whatever. It looked really awesome. Yeah. And I was thinking, man, if this movie still holds up and it's still really cool, but I would love to see it reimagined for like a new generation, just to see. But of course, that Robert Hall just keeps doing Laid to Rest movies, and moving adult star to adult star as wives. So
right.
I called him out on that, and he had made 2 movies after that, and he said something about Laid to Rest 3, and I was like on the Laid to Rest page, and I said, hey man, what happened to Old Scratch? And he's like, well, we just haven't had the money. Well, dude, you've made how many movies since then?
You're still making the other ones.
Yeah. So it's never going to happen. But so we have this, and that's good too.
Yeah. Well, and of course, probably because of the other movie coming out called Trick or Treat at that time period, probably put a damper on any kind of remake or whatever as well. So who knows? I mean, because most of the time when you bring this movie up, you get that people don't know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, it's always the 2006 movie, and
which is great. Yeah, it's a great movie.
I always tell them no, it's or, not R.
Right. Yeah.
And then they're like, what?
But I know you and I both have a Sammy Kerr shirt, so that tells you how much we love this movie.
And on the back of the shirt, it's got him shredding on the front in flames, and the back says death, it says no false metal.
No false metal, yeah.
It's funny because there's a Weezer album called Death to False Metal, and I always get those two mixed up.
Weezer.
Oh.
They're awesome.
I wonder if that was kind of a nod to this, honestly.
Could have been. I mean, they're in that age group for sure. So.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, folks. I mean, that's kind of how we're going to do these episodes from time to time. Just I know we got 2 or 3 we've talked about bringing into this kind of format. Let us know what you think, or if you have some movies that maybe you want us to cover that maybe are not the worst movies. We're open to that too, man. I mean, between Johnny and myself, we watched a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So, but don't worry, Short Bus will be right back on time like normal. So we just wanted to try to do this a little differently. You got anything else you want to say about this movie, man?
No, not about the movie. As far as the show goes, I mean, the next one we have lined up with the guest is, from what I've heard from the guest, it's one of the most awful movies ever made. So that ought to be pretty fun.
Yeah, so we're going to try to get that done here pretty quick, but I don't know, this just kind of popped up and we said, hey, let's just do this for a change and see how it goes. So you let us know what you think about it. And I just want to say, I mean, I see the numbers from the downloads for all the shows at Legion, and even though we don't put out as many shows as probably as we should, we still have a lot of downloads, and that's you guys.
Yeah, we love you all
listening, and we appreciate it, because if we knew what we were doing, we would be pretty good at it. But we're just doing this for fun, and it tickles us that you are finding enjoyment with it as well. So, it just blows me away that we're still getting, pretty heavy downloads, even though we only do like an episode a month or so. So, maybe we should try to do a little better. I don't know.
No, we can. I mean, it's just, things come up, pandemic, things happen, and I'm sure everybody understands. I mean, when you tell me the, the amount of listeners and stuff, I just, all I can think is, whoa!
Whoa!
Oh man! But now this is fun. I had a good time, and I love coming on here. We're gonna come back, and we're gonna have something completely horrible to talk to you about.
Looking forward to it. Well, I guess that's it for this one. Johnny, got anything else you want to say, man?
No, thanks for listening, everybody.
All right, we will see you later, folks. Adios.
Peace.